Well, I've been asked about checking whether or not a coilover would fit in here. So the coilover is basically two different sizes, either 2-inch inside, 2.5 exterior, 3.5 exterior, something like that. OD is all I'm concerned with. This is a piece of driveline that's 3 inches, and you can already tell that it won't fit between the bump stop brackets. Okay, I'm not concerned with that. They're cut off the other side. I can check it over there, but I need to do some preliminary checks to find out whether or not the arm will even work. So what I'm playing with here is I took some solid steel, or not steel, solid aluminum rod I had, and I cut the OD to just fit in there, and I cut the ID to just fit over that. So what I'm going to do is these will press in there and stay. So I'll put a couple of nuts above and below, and then and the wheel is exactly, this wheel is exactly 3.5 inches. What that does for me is, at least what I'm hoping, is to be able to, say like right there, okay, if the coilover comes up that high, which it probably will with its mounting and that stuff, then it's going to have that cap holding it. Question is will it hit? Well, it shouldn't move there, so I'm going to have to move that down some. I'll have to play around with this a little bit, but the big thing is whether or not it'll clear the arm. And in full droop, which is farther than it should be right now. Anyway, this is what I'm playing with. I've got to go back and figure out how much drop I've got, and then find out whether or not it's going to fit in there. And I may have to do it on the other side because I'm hitting in the back here with the wheel. So that right there tells me that a 3.5 inch outside diameter coilover is not going to fit with that tower, at least not without some modifications and such. So that'll have to be the answer. And if they are going to modify this, they can push it out or pull it in a little bit, but you know, they'll have to worry about the arm. It's close. I think if this went all the way back in like it's supposed to, it would clear, but I can't tell for sure right now, so I'll have to mock it up on the other side and see what happens. Well, without even mocking it up or taking this apart, I can just eyeball this in there and see that there is really not going to be any room for as much as that moves and flexes and everything. God, you know, it's close. If it was a small coilover, maybe. But I don't really, I've never played much with coilovers, so it doesn't look like it's really going to clearance the sway bar very easily. And if that's the case, you know, nothing I can do about that because that's a stock sway bar, and I'm not going to go through all the grief of figuring out another sway bar and that stuff. So it's close. Somebody wants coilovers on it, they're going to have to figure it out themselves. I'm going to get back to trying to get these done. It's been on the to-do list for a while, and it finally dawned on me I was fighting it more than I needed to. So anyway, the torsion bar will be pushed up against here, okay, and that's where the arm goes, okay. So the thing is the bushing that's going to be in the truck on a 521 is going to be a good bit narrower than the hard body. This is one for a hard body. And so what I've done was took the measurements, stuff like that. It turns out it needs basically a 1/2 inch spacer. So I just took some DOM and made some 1/2 inch thick spacers, stuck one in there. And now what that does, by having all the spacing on one side, it will keep the arm forward. Now that's the way I had everything set up. It gives it 6-7 degrees of caster, which may be a little much, but we'll see. So anyway, now two 1/4 inchers could be replaced. The problem is when you take and only put a 1/4 inch in and put a 1/4 inch in over here, you're going to be pushing the torsion bar back a 1/4 inch. So you could probably get away with taking a cutoff saw wheel and slicing, you know, a 1/4 inch off the end of the torsion bar. okay? You know, do that at your own risk. Make your own judgment call on that. There's other options I would do besides doing that first, but it is possibly an option. I don't have a torsion bar handy to see how much meat's there, but you do it at your own risk. This is how it's getting set up, but that would be an option if it was too much caster. The top's adjustable too. So anyway, that's what I'm playing with right now. So that, because I kept fighting every time I lifted it up and down to check the sway bar clearance and that stuff, the arm would move back and change my angles and everything. I was like, man, it's getting kind of annoying. So fixed. I'm getting down to a little bit more critical clearances with the travel and stuff like that for fitment of the arms. So this is a 521 shock absorber. It's about an inch shorter than the hard body shock, okay? And I have showed some of the shock stuff before, but what I'm setting up here is my travel limits, okay? I'm accounting for roughly a 1/4 inch of squish here. That ought to be pretty close. And what I've done is, I know that that ring right there will come down and basically just about touch the rubber seal there, okay? So that's about 4 inches of travel. Okay, so I've got the top one set here, the washers to make sure the nut doesn't settle into the hole on the tower. Okay, and I've got these spaced about 4 inches apart, so this is where my upper limit is. The arm goes up and hits the bottoms out the shock. Should be right about there. So I should be able to use this and not have to fight the compression of the shock. This shock I bought specifically to cut apart and drain the oil out of. This one, I don't want to do that yet. 521 shocks are a little bit harder to come by, but anyway, I just haven't cut it because I haven't bought another one yet. Alright, well, with the lowered suspension, this is at full drop. Droop, probably more accurate. Okay, I'm not touching the bump stop, and I'm not bottomed out on the shock, okay? What it's hanging up on, I'm assuming at this point, it's hanging up on the ball joint travel. So, worry about that a little bit later. But anyway, with it all the way down, if I turn it, I can turn it all the way. Comes real close over here at the sway bar. But since this is going to have to be lifted up a little bit, that's going to gain a little more clearance anyway. So it'll go both directions without hitting. I'm against the steering stop, not against the bolt. It doesn't raise up or down when I'm turning back and forth. So I know it's not my tie rod ends this time binding up. So let's check. Let's check here real quick. Let me. So that's it. 26.5. Now what I'll probably do to keep this from, it's not bottoming out the shock, but I don't want it to bottom out the ball joint. So good chance that this will be raised up around here, and I'll end up, you know, putting in a piece of like 3/8 or something in here to hit the bump stop to limit that lower travel. Okay. So let's do. Okay, so we could probably say that's 27. And it comes all the way up to 32 5/8. Now, the upper limit is the shock absorber right there. So, might be able to eke a little bit more out, changing the shock mount, stuff like that. That isn't anything I'm going to worry about. It's not bottoming out on the frame. That's a good thing, but a shorter shock would let you come up even a little farther. What did I just say that was? 37.5? No. 32 5/8. So that's going to have to get limited so it doesn't bottom out the shock. So let's call it 32. So from 27 to 32, I got 5 inches of wheel travel for the dropped version, the lowered version. So that's going to have to be good enough. That at least gives me a ballpark idea. And so in the middle of that, Okay, if I've got 5 inches of travel, so then 29 and a half, I'll write that down, 29 and a half is where ride height's going to be. And what that'll do is I'll put the other arm on and check it and see where ride height is going to be for the stock ride height. And then I'll know how far the lowered one drops it without doing anything else other than just installing it. So let's see if I can figure that out real quick. Okay, this is the stock ride height setup. You know, it's going to sit about there. So I did verify that I do have to have the spacing in the bump stop. I do need it to stop here. If it goes down another ½ inch, the tie rod's bind. Okay, considering the fact that that's only at full droop, there shouldn't be really shouldn't be an issue, because most of the time it's going to be up here, so you know it's not even close to the tie rod's binding. So I'm down the bump stop. I got a ½ inch of travel. There's more shock travel here to be had, but you know, because of the tie rods and stuff like that, I can't go down any further. I don't have the bump stop under here, and I can get a full 5 inches that way if I use the shock as the stop. But when I put my shortened bump stop in to simulate, you know, how when the truck bottoms out, you know, it'll squish the end of the cone down. That comes up to stopping about a little bit shy, and it makes for 4½ inches of travel on the suspension for the stock ride height setup. So, oh, and then the other thing I did too is, I don't know if I think it shows up here. I put just about a ½ inch, maybe a hair more, of washers in here on the sway bar to push the sway bar up ½ inch. And what that does is, at full droop, that gives me plenty of clearance here. Yeah, I've got 3/16 of an inch of clearance between the sway bar and the thing and the tie rod end rod, tie rod link, whatever the hell it is. Anyway, I'm nowhere close to the sway bar here. To the thing now, with the other one on, that ½ inch would probably cause a problem here. So, but since it's up, it clears here. So, I think it's pretty well figured out. I have to drop the sway bar mount, and so I can make it repeatable. I've got to decide, instead of, since I'm going to have to put a piece of steel under here to hit the bump stop on the other arm for the lowered, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to opt to put these bump stops down here, and I'll just have 2 different pieces of steel, one for this arm and one for the other one, to limit that travel. So I'll still have to figure out that. I think that's about it for today. I haven't checked caster cam or any of that kind of stuff. It should all be pretty close. I'll have to do a final check on it again, but I've got a couple other things I want to get ironed out first. So, next up, I believe, will be to, I don't know. I'm not with it today. I'll figure it out later.